Hey everyone, welcome to the Live Well, Love Strong podcast. And this morning I'm very, very excited. I have a guest. Her name is Keri Aschoff, and she is a mental health therapist. And she also is a mom like me and you and all of our listeners. And so I'm so excited to pick her brain this morning and to talk a little bit more about our feelings. Welcome, Keri.
Thank you so much for having me, Sarah. Um, yes, I am a licensed professional counselor. I have a private practice here in Katy, Texas, and I also work with people virtually throughout the state of Texas. I specialize in working with people who've experienced various forms of trauma and other life hardships, especially medically complex
Yeah.
cases. I help both patient and caregivers. And my passion for this area did not start in the counseling room. It actually started on the dance floor. And in 2010, my daughter, perfectly healthy, went to her first homecoming dance. It was at Seven Lakes High School, and she was super excited about it. We did the whole homecoming thing, took pictures and
Yeah.
everything. And I got a phone call a couple hours in when she was at the dance, and she collapsed on the dance floor. And I was just um,
Terrifying. Yeah.
terrified, absolutely. She couldn't walk, she could barely talk. I didn't know it at that time, but her complete autonomic nervous system completely shut down, and she developed a severe form of dysautonomia, which started us on a many-year journey to doctor's appointments, 24/7 ER trips. She was in intense pain every day, fainted just about every time she got on her feet. It developed into seizures. Her GI tract almost completely shut down, on top of a multitude of autonomic nervous system related symptoms happen.
Right. Okay.
Extreme brain fog, exhaustion. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. I cannot even imagine, Carrie. I mean, my
Mhm.
kiddo, we knew this from the very beginning, right? So
Mhm.
it's been our normal. Even though it's
Mhm.
challenging, it's been our normal. So I can't imagine what that would have been like to have raised your daughter for that many years, and then all of a sudden, out of a blue, she develops dysautonomia. Sorry.
Mhm.
What?
It's okay. It took me a while to learn the word too. Dysautonomia.
Dysautonomia. And tell me a little bit about that. Mary Elizabeth does not have that, but we have lots of friends that have that. So what does it look like?
So dysautonomia is it's actually somewhat like a spectrum of conditions where the autonomic nervous system is not regulating properly. In my daughter's case, she has two subtypes. One is neurocardiogenic syncope syndrome, and the other one is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, more commonly known as POTS. Most people
Yep.
have heard of POTS
Yep.
before.
Okay.
But there's a variety of forms of that. And the common theme is it's very unpredictable on what symptoms you're facing that day,
Mhm.
which that alone, when I work with patients and caregivers, that is the number one common theme complaint is
Mhm.
how unpredictable. You could do all the things that the medical crew tells you to do, but some days those symptoms are going to flare, and that can be really difficult.
Yeah, it's so true. I
Mhm.
always talk about I live such a precarious life with Mary Elizabeth because we just don't know what's going to pop up around the
Mhm.
next corner. Carrie, you have such a unique perspective, both professionally as a therapist and personally as a mom. How has your personal experience shaped your professional career and how you relate and give care to your clients?
It's completely shaped the way we can read about cases in a textbook, and that can be helpful to understand where people are coming from. But it's
Mhm.
a completely different perspective when you've been in similar trenches.
Right.
So,
When you
for
have the
example,
lived experience to kind of
exactly.
understand. Yeah.
Exactly. So, for example, my trenches in the dysautonomia world looks completely different than your trenches in
Right.
the world you're facing. However, we're both two moms who know what it's like to live in the trenches and to
Right.
be running on adrenaline and exhaustion and all the things that come with doing this for our children.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so let's
Mhm.
talk a little bit about that. What are the two most common things you see in our population and in caregivers
Mhm.
in your practice currently? And why, maybe, do you think
Mhm.
that's the case?
Okay, good, great question. The two most common things, number one is burnout, and the second thing is chronic anxiety. Chronic
Yeah.
anxiety, yes. And I'm going to add a third one too. It's the kind of belief or the message we're getting that we're not handling the stress correctly if we're
Yeah.
feeling anxious.
Oh, I'm so
And-
glad you said that. I'm
yes.
so glad you said that because,
Mhm.
and we'll talk about this a little more.
Mhm.
I have been working really hard on calming
Mhm.
my central nervous system and not
Mhm.
running and seeking cortisol and adrenaline. And when I can, when it's safe and when it's possible and
That's
necessary,
right.
I'm really
Mhm.
working hard on retraining it. But one of my major challenges, and I've been doing this for years, Keri, you and I talked about this initially,
Mhm.
um, is that, yeah, I think I'm doing it wrong.
Mhm.
And so it creates this friction that makes it even more challenging for me to sit still and be at peace because my mind is saying, you're doing it wrong. And that's anxiety,
So true.
right?
That's anxiety that, and it's tapping into our mother fears,
Yeah.
because it's also an illusion of control.
Hmm.
If I'm doing something wrong, that implies I have 100%
And
control
I can
of the
fix it.
situation. I can
Oh, that
fix
makes
it.
so much sense. Yeah.
hmm Yeah.
Yeah.
And as far as anxiety, I always say that anxiety gets a little bit of a bad rap. We can acknowledge we don't like the feeling of anxiety, but anxiety is very, very important in the human system.
Mm,
It's like a weather radar. It's scanning for threats,
mm,
not only to yourself, but also the people you love.
right.
And we want that weather radar to work correctly. It's just what happens in these medically complex situations when we're caregiving, because the what the nervous system is perceiving as threats, they're understandably a threat, and they're going
Right.
24/7.
Yeah.
So trying to convince ourselves that we shouldn't be anxious about something is kind of silly. We're wired to survive and be protective. However, what will happen in our cases is our caregiving mom and nervous systems will over-calibrate. It
Yeah.
will over be anxious. And that's not a thinking problem. It's not someone who's doing something wrong. It's just the nervous system is working like a big warrior team trying to be protecting, and we can't
Right. And it's been
retrain it.
trained to do that over the years with our
Exactly.
kiddos. So it's kind of doing
Exactly.
what we want it to do.
hmm
And yet it's
hmm
creating all this cortisol.
Extra cortisol, adrenaline, in which that leads to chronic inflammation in our body, and then that starts a domino effect. And
Hmm.
so the problem is, let's just say it's your average Tuesday.
Hmm.
It's fairly, I'm very careful on using the word calm because calm is different in our world.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Routine. Routine.
Routine
Yeah.
is a good word for it. So it's fairly routine. It's a Tuesday night. My
Hmm.
kiddo is on the couch watching TV. They're okay. But my anxiety level on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 is the highest. It's sitting at a 9 or an 8. It's amped up. It's not
Hmm.
matching the situation. So we can
Right.
help retrain our nervous system to learn how to save the nines and tens for those ER trips
I love that. I
and
love,
recalibrate down. We might never get to a one. To
yeah.
have those kind of expectations are really hard for caregiving moms because there is
Thank you for
something
saying
to
that.
assess.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah,
Yeah.
because like I said, I've been doing this for a few years now and I'm
Mhm.
never at a one. But I have gotten to a place where I can be comfortable in the routine and
Mhm.
even not worried sometimes in the routine. Okay,
Right.
so how are we doing that? How are we differentiating what's routine and what is something to be alarmed with within our central nervous system? How do we do that?
Great
Like clients how
question.
to do
So, anxiety likes to also work with our logistic side of our personality. It wants to start jumping 100 steps ahead to plan every single scenario. And again, it's in an attempt to feel some sense of control.
that.
Instead, it's without shaming ourselves. I always say we can't shame ourselves to healing or success.
Yeah.
Just notice it's happening. Bring yourself back to the present moment.
Mhm.
Assess for safety cues. Are they okay? Am I okay? Is the temperature in the house okay? What sounds am I hearing? Notice I'm asking sensory questions
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
sensory helps wake up the front part of our brain that kind of goes offline when
Mhm.
anxiety starts ruling the game. We're back here in our brain with anxiety.
Mhm.
So, assessing, orienting yourself to the present moment is a way to start retraining your nervous system to shift back. And
Mhm.
if we regularly practice that, if we're sitting at an 8 on the scale, there's a really good chance that that number is going to come down in intensity. Again, that's ones are usually reserved for that tropical beach vacation,
Right?
right?
The one is like 2 weeks. For those of us who are in the trenches on the
Mhm.
regular, a one or a two is no child on the beach, but only after it's been 3 or 4 days for me.
That's right. That is absolutely right because we're still amped up
It
and
takes me a minute,
concerned.
yeah,
Mhm.
to
Yep.
turn it all off and to realize, wait a second, I'm actually alone on the beach.
I'm okay. They're
Uh,
okay.
yeah, I'm
Yes.
safe. I know. That's what I did in the very beginning. Is I would say out loud, "I'm safe.
Mm.
Mary Elizabeth is
Mm.
safe. We are okay right now." And then I would take some deep breaths and do the sensory stuff that you're talking about, and it really does
Yes.
work, y'all. Like it really
Mhm.
does work.
It really does. And back at the very beginning, when I was knee deep in the depth of our dysautonomia years, when I would hear about, oh, you need to pause and do self-care, if I'm being completely honest, I would eye roll and go, you have no idea. I don't have to,
Right.
this is not a problem that a bubble bath is going to solve.
Thank you.
And it would be so frustrating. Now,
And it's
I
not a
say
problem
that.
that 100 bubble baths are going to solve.
Exactly. It's
Okay.
not. And so I never want to come from a place of minimizing the gravity, the weight of what people are facing. But
Mhm.
what I have found with what helped me and then also helps with the clients I work with is learning the neuroscience behind our system. Our nervous system is like a car engine.
Mhm.
If we go, go, go and never stop to refuel, eventually it's not going to go anymore. And so self care, whatever form that takes for that person, sometimes we need a calming self care, some less sensory because we're at the hospital, we hear noises going, there's lots of
Yeah.
people. We
Yeah.
need to take the sensory down, or we need a recharge, a good going out for a walk. That
Yeah.
helps build capacity in our nervous system so that we can do better for ourselves. If we do better for ourselves, we can do better for our kids.
I love that, Keri. Thank
Mhm.
you. I want to ask one more question about that,
Mhm.
then I want to move to overwhelm.
Mhm.
How do we know whether we need the calming or whether
Mhm.
we need like the walk or
But
like a
the
good
walk.
laugh with a
Mhm.
friend or I
Mhm.
go play pickleball? But like, how do we know the difference of what we need if we're feeling so dysregulated and we have
Love
to ourselves?
Love that question. The more we just kind of ask ourselves that question, do I need a downshift or do I need an upshift? If
Hmm.
my system feels really upshift, Nine times out of 10, it wants a little bit of a downshift. It wants some quiet, calm. And again, it can be a bubble bath if that's your jam,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it doesn't have to. It could be like, for example, for me, and this every time I share this, it sounds like such a funny example. But my form of self-care, especially back in the day in the trenches,
Mhm.
was mowing my grass. And
Yeah,
somebody
I
would
get
side
that.
eye me.
I get
It's
it. Yeah.
instant
Yes.
gratification. It's me. It's quiet. I have my
Yeah.
music on, and that was my self-care. So that's what worked for me.
Mhm.
So learning to read your nervous system. Do I need an upshift? Do I need a downshift? If I'm not sure, when in doubt, connecting to a good friend is always a good place to start.
I love
Mhm,
that. Thank you.
mhm,
Okay. All
mhm,
right. So let's talk a little bit about overwhelm now,
mhm,
or emotional burnout, cortisol
mhm,
overload. I know there's a
mhm,
lot of different terms
mhm,
that we throw out. It happens often in our
mhm,
community. And I think a
mhm,
lot of us live in that zone or live on the edge of that zone.
mhm,
So how do we know that we're there?
mhm,
If we're always pushing, right? If we're always going,
mhm,
if we haven't started to slow
mhm,
down yet, how do we know that we're
mhm.
in that zone where it's very dangerous for our bodies?
Absolutely. I like to say burnout will start giving us some early warning signs that we need to just pay attention to.
Mhm.
Um, First thing that comes up, I call it a low hum of irritability. We're just irritable. Like and I don't like to use the word patience very often because again, we mamas we have a tendency to shame and blame ourselves. So if
Right?
you don't have patience, that is okay, but it is a sign that maybe our system is reaching max capacity and has been there for a long time. So
Yeah.
look at your mood, look at the irritable that feeling of hopelessness that might start come sneaking in can definitely
Yeah,
do
I
it.
call it dread. I call it the
Mhm,
dread feeling. And I don't
mhm.
even know, I feel like it's a bunch of feelings mixed together,
Yes.
but it
Hmm.
feels in my body like this buzzing or just like
Hmm.
this energy moving all around in my gut and it moves up to my
Yes.
chest. And then I'm like, it displays in my behavior where I'm like looking around for something to do that will make
Hmm.
me feel better. So I'm like, loading the dishwasher, putting stuff in the washer. I'm just doing, doing, doing.
Hmm.
And it feels like maybe I'm going to die or Mary Elizabeth's going to die or something. Like it's just this
Hmm.
dread feeling of yucking.
Right. And
Um,
that's you shifting into that survival mode, that fight flight
yeah,
mode, and yet that heavy sense of dread. And one thing I always like to point out too, this is not again something all in your head. Like
right.
you're not handling things. This is a true physical thing
Yeah,
that is happening in your body. And what you're describing is there's a phrase that goes around and it so relates to this. You feel both wired and tired at the same time.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you.
Mhm.
So true. And it's so disorienting. And it's like, I feel very out of control. Um,
Mhm.
and yet I don't know what to do, which is my go-to, to get back to like feeling that safety and comfort again. And for my audience, I don't feel this as often anymore, but I used to feel this fairly regularly. Um, and then I would go in and out of it. And that was like that, on the edge of in the trenches, out of the trenches, in the trenches,
Mhm.
out of the trenches. And it felt yeah, it felt exhausting.
Exhausting. We're on the seesaw going back and forth, not only with externally what we're facing with the medical world, but internally with our system shifting back and forth. It's
Yeah.
exhausting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So when we notice those sort of things happening, what do we do? Is it
Mm.
critical? Like what, do you know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
how do we differentiate like when we need to really act on it and
Mhm.
versus when we need to just kind of keep an eye on it?
Good question. I am the big advocate that this needs to be an intentional daily practice.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now,
Wow,
what
you're
that
good. Okay, keep going. Wow, she's
intentional
good,
daily
y'all.
practice.
Okay.
So it's not waiting till we're on empty.
Yeah. Okay.
It's in if we're having a good capacity, good energy day, let's add to it.
Hmm.
Expand that window.
Hmm.
Okay. If we're having a low energy day, low capacity, okay, we're going to be gentle with ourselves. Let's do what we can to expand that window.
Hmm.
And that's okay. And so I like to use the PACE acronym, and I have a little saying, pace your care so you can be better there.
I like that. Pace your care so you can be better there. Okay.
Mhm. And P stands for pause. And I'm a big advocate for doing this, especially first thing in the morning. I get it. We have a lot of things going on, but our nervous system, even if we can take a 5 minute micro break to set the tone, that increases our internal capacity for our nervous system. So
Nice.
P stands for pause. Just pause. Put your feet on the ground. Take some slow, deep breaths. A is assess, kind of assess the situation. Is this a nine on the 1 to 10 scale?
Hmm.
Or is my morning actually starting out about a three? Okay, just breathe into that three. It's a three. And I love that you use that language, I am safe. That this is how we literally encode messages to our nervous system. It's like typing. So
Yeah.
you saying those things, I am safe, I'm okay, I can handle it. Now, notice what I'm saying here. I didn't say I like it.
Yeah.
We're going
Okay.
to validate we don't like the situation.
Yeah.
We can validate it's hard, but
Hmm.
we can handle it. How do I know you can handle it? Because you have 100% success rate of getting through every single day before today.
I love that. And
Mhm,
that's something good to say to ourselves when
mhm,
we're feeling like maybe we can't handle it. Is yep,
mhm.
we already have every single
Yeah,
time up to this
right.
point, and we'll
Yeah,
continue
we
to do
might
that.
not like it and we might be army crawling our way through it,
Right?
but we can and we have. And if that is not strength, I don't know what is.
Yeah. Yeah.
C is choose. Choose your one next best step. So often we get so stuck looking at the mountain of tasks
Hmm.
and what do I need to be doing a mile down the road and 10 miles down the road? Which, to be fair, we need to have our eyes on those things.
Yeah.
However, it's bringing us back to today. If I can't do anything about whatever those tasks are a mile down the road, that's just worrying. That's just rumination. Okay. Rumination is not productive. Okay. And our human brain naturally wants to do that because
Right.
again, it wants an illusion of control. So bringing it back to the next best step. What can I
Okay.
do in this moment to improve my situation and my child's situation?
How do we determine what the next best step is?
Mm. Well, the first thing I would say on that is lean into your internal mother wisdom. That is one thing for the women I've worked with that I just sit in awe. We know when something's off,
We
even if the
do, and it's
doctors,
so
yes.
nuanced and it's so subtle, and
Mhm.
we know you are right.
Mhm. You know, you will even start knowing the difference between, ooh, is this anxiety getting the better of me today versus there's really nothing off, but the anxiety
Mhm.
is needs help recalibrating versus nope, something is just off. Okay.
Mhm.
And then just lean, and everybody's case is completely unique to them.
Right.
But at the end of the day, to help our children and ourselves go through really hard days, research shows that we mamas want to solve the problem, and we validate that. We can try to solve it as best as we can. But research shows that just connecting with your child in those moments and supporting them through it just
Mhm.
by your presence that is more meaningful to them and their nervous systems than you possibly searching for that impossible problem solving answer, because we want to cure, we want to fix for them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that. That's so nice. And I want to just say something about that because just connecting with Mary Elizabeth, especially we have a lot of seizures. It's one of our hardest challenges, and I'm 15 years in, and the first 10 years, a seizure would send me into a spiral. Like every time, I mean, I would handle the situation, right?
Mhm.
There's an acute
Mhm.
emergency. I would handle that very calmly, strangely calmly, very well. I would get her all taken care of and cleaned up, and everything's okay. And then I would spiral. And it was just, I think it was the cortisol and the adrenaline like kind of hitting me, and then me not having a plan on what to do afterward.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so then I would start thinking about how scary that was and more
Mhm.
pictures, and then I would picture it and all of the things.
Mhm.
So what I've learned now is after that, I spend 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. It just depends on how
Mhm.
I feel and how Mary Elizabeth feels. And we
Mhm.
literally, like, I hold her and we snuggle. And I
That
say,
is powerful.
that
Mhm.
was hard. That scared mommy. It was scary for you too. We made
Mhm.
it. We're here. Let's snuggle and cuddle. We'll pick a TV show or a music to watch. Sometimes we'll have a dance party if she's like a little more hyped. But since I've started doing that, I don't ruminate on it anymore. Um, like I
Yes.
haven't, and I don't even, and I'm not even like scared of it, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Seizures are scary, but
Mhm.
I just don't have that anxiety anymore, and that changed things for me. So I love that you
It's
said that.
powerful. And I want to point out the neuroscience of what's happening there. So,
Okay.
the nervous system has three main needs to stay regulated:
Mhm.
safety, control, and connection. And anytime, even if we're in the chaos of something,
Mhm.
especially when you do get out of the acute crisis
Right,
situation,
right.
if we can meet our needs in the ones we're taking care of, safety, sitting on the couch, you are safe. You both are safe. You're connected. Literally hugging and holding, you're reinforcing that message of connection and control. You are choosing, because if we don't have 100% control, the nervous system likes choices. And
Yeah.
the nervous system doesn't really care about what the choices are. Do you want to watch, the Disney Channel, or do you want to watch HGTV? It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what the choice is, but being intentional with choices. And you hit each one of those, which literally sends a calming signal down the vagus nerve to calm your system and stop the pumping of adrenaline and cortisol in your body.
I love it. That is
Mhm.
fascinating. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we've done PAC. Now we're
Yes.
in.
We're in E, engage and empower. So engage in the step you chose and empower yourself. And I'm also going to kind of underline that empower. So again, looking for your choices. The nervous system loves that. Look for your choices. Empower yourself. That helps to just kind of set the tone. It reminds ourselves and our nervous systems that I am capable, I am strong, I can move forward, even if we don't like what the situation we're facing that day is.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
That's so
Mhm.
good. That's so good. Um, as a mental health professional, what are some of the things that you do on a daily basis to kind of keep
Mhm.
yourself regulated? And I know we talked about the daily inventory,
Mhm.
we talked about a few
Mhm.
of them already, but are there
Mhm.
things that that we as mamas and our listeners can just
Mhm.
start putting in pretty easily right now
Yes,
that make a
yes.
difference in their life?
Mhm. Wonderful. Okay, the first thing I'm going to share is, it sounds so simple, but foundational. It is the building block for setting your day and retraining your nervous system. And I call it the jellyfish. And before I explain the jellyfish, let me just make a mention. The only reason we humans have muscle tension is to signal threat.
Okay.
Okay. So, and by the way, this isn't muscle tension after a good workout. I'm talking
Right. Yeah, yeah. No, you're just talking about, right. Got it. Okay.
muscle tension. Okay. It's to signal threat to the brain. And so the brain reads the body and says, ooh, there's muscle tension. There must be a threat that the body, because the body has all these receptors of
Right.
scanning the outside world. And so the brain will say, release more adrenaline and cortisol. So that floods the body. The body gets that message, and the body says, oh, we're under attack. We need more muscles to be tense. And so we caregivers get caught in this chronic loop of
Yeah.
chronic stress, chronic tension, lots of adrenaline, lots of cortisol. And what we want to learn how to do is break the loop, even if we only have 1 minute, even if we only have 5 minutes, whatever we have. So I call it the jellyfish. It's a progressive muscle relaxation, and just scan your body very slowly all the way down to your toes. And your goal is try to get your muscles as relaxed as possible and become like a jellyfish. Now, 9 times out of 10, caregiving mamas will be like, oh, I still feel tension in my shoulders. That's okay. Relax what you can, because
Right.
your nervous system isn't going to give up without a fight. It wants to protect you. Okay.
Yeah. So this is a practice that we're going to do and get better at.
Exactly. The more you practice it, the more the nervous system will allow more muscles to relax. And so we want to do the jellyfish just to break that loop for just a moment. Relax. And slow exhales are your friend. Okay. A lot of us stay in sympathetic nervous system energy. Slow exhales do parasympathetic. So that's the break in the nervous system. Okay.
Yeah.
So pair that word jellyfish. And I encourage moms to try to practice this 3 times a day. Once when they first wake up,
Okay.
once around lunchtime, and once when they're going to sleep.
Okay. That's doable. Yeah.
Very doable. And then any other time you're thinking about it. And I
Mhm.
always say we can have tension up here, but if we can relax, we don't want to amp. Our muscle tension will amp whatever we're feeling. So if we're feeling anxious up here, or we're
Mhm.
feeling frustrated up here, muscle tension is going to amp what we're experiencing and make it bigger. So the
Right.
question you ask yourself, do I want what I'm feeling bigger or smaller? And if that answer is smaller, do the jellyfish.
Love
Okay.
it. Okay. Do I want when I'm feeling bigger or smaller? And if it's smaller,
Hmm. Hmm.
jellyfish. Love
Right.
it. Okay.
Hmm.
Any other tips that you think?
And this next one, again, when I first heard it, before I knew the neuroscience, I did an eye roll. Okay.
That's good, right?
Uh, but it really is important. So, since we have a lot of adrenaline and cortisol running through our body, we
Mhm.
have a tendency to neglect our hydration. Okay. Because we're busy, we're going, right?
Yeah.
And so, if we can really increase our water, I say the word fluids, whatever that means to you. If you are a tea drinker or whatever, we want to get hydrated, and that helps to flush that out of our system quicker
Love
than
that.
if we don't hydrate.
That
Mhm.
is so good. I have been drinking lots of water for the last 6 or 7 years. And
Mhm.
now I can tell when I'm dehydrated
Mhm.
pretty quickly. But I think I was living dehydrated before that, and I had no clue. So I didn't know that. So more water will flush the cortisol out of your system.
Absolutely. And on top of that, so when we're dehydrated, the nervous system reads that as a threat. So it's going
Right.
to shift
So
you
it's
to
gonna
survival
be
mode,
more, all
and
that
it's going
makes
to amp more of your anxiety and everything up too. So again, the neuroscience really helps us to have an understanding of why it's a good idea to practice these things. And the third tip I want to mention on, so if we are kind of amped up and we just had a really difficult doctor's appointment or difficult phone call with the insurance company, and you're not in the mood to go walk, or you don't have time to walk. okay? Because we
Mhm.
might
Yeah,
have care
you have to
needs
can.
that need to
Right.
happen. Whatever is your abilities and comfort zone, I encourage to do something. It could be wall push-ups. It could be holding a plank. We can burn a lot of adrenaline in a very short amount of time if we're doing something like holding a plank.
Love
And
that.
if and of course, always check with your doctors if you have, like, I have arthritis, I have to be mindful of what
Right.
I'm doing.
Right.
Finding whatever's in your comfort zone so you can burn off some of that, or even just holding a squat can help as well.
Wow. Okay. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Those are such good tips. And I want to laugh really quickly about
Mm-hmm.
the water because you were like, I'm going to roll my eyes because I'm going to tell you to just drink more water.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We'd all roll our eyes to that, but the
So
meaning and
true.
the reason behind it makes so much sense.
Mhm. Well, and that's the piece. So much of what we are told is because I said so. And
Right. Yeah.
that is not my approach. My approach is to teach the why, the science, and how this is going to be helpful, and also just honor your power of choice. If you choose not to want to drink your water, that's okay. I'm not here to judge you.
Right.
My job is just to give you the tools to help understand your body more, so you can feel more regulated. And there's other ways. Let's just say, for example, someone's like, I just absolutely cannot tolerate water. Which can be true because some people can get
Yeah.
nauseous depending on if they have dysautonomia or something.
Right.
We
Yeah.
look for ways, well, how can we still increase that fluid,
Mhm.
that feels a little more tolerable to your
Right.
system?
Maybe eating more watermelon or foods with more water in it or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Oh my gosh, Keri, I have one final question. This has been the best. And for our listeners, Keri is a mental health professional who is highly sought out of in our community, right? Because in order to have someone who you're giving your feelings to and sharing your life and sharing, the challenges of raising a kiddo with medical complexities or who is on the autism spectrum or who has a syndrome or who has, whatever extra challenges than the regular neurotypical kiddo. Um, to find a mental health professional who gets it, who understands, who's has the lived experience. I am just so grateful to have this time with you and to listen to kind of the things that you've had to say. It has been better than what I was expecting. So thank you for
Oh,
that,
thank
Keri.
you. I so appreciate you giving me this opportunity and just everything that you do for our community as well. That's powerful.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
I end my podcast with the same question for everybody.
Mhm.
And it is, what are you doing personally to live well, love strong in your life?
Ooh, I love it. The number one thing is I actually believe in starting with loving well. Okay. To love well, that means not only to love my people fiercely and wonderfully, it means love thy neighbor. And it also means learning how to love myself. We mamas forget that piece,
We
you
do
know?
forget that piece.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes,
Okay, so
and
Keri,
self-care is a form of love, to yourself. It's a gift to yourself. Hmm.
yeah, and all the things that Keri talked about today, the little practices, the drinking water, the PACE acronym, um,
Hmm.
is self-care and is love, the form of
Hmm.
action for ourselves and for our families because it'll trickle down. Um,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you
Absolutely.
so much,
Hmm.
Keri. I appreciate it. Y'all, I will share Keri's information and how to reach her and how to connect with her and maybe get some one-on-one help with Keri in the bio and in the show notes. So thank you so much again, Keri, and I really, really loved having you on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.